was supposed to be under the something. Okay, fine.
But it's fine. It went well. It is.
And I didn't,
And the other
like, there's so
thing-
many names and so many combinations of letters that sometimes I don't know, maybe it is something.
Was it?
I just get
Well,
mixed
it's
up.
on Bridge Street.
Well, I know, it was downtown, because we, I drove all the way around and up to the base.
Put it on my
Right
stand.
from the heads up.
Oh, right.
They usually don't come on that noon. No, I
Stand for pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for July 6, 2015. Roll call, please.
Marty Bassett.
Here.
Thomas Wood. Mark Manning.
Here.
Mike LaFave. Rick Collins. James Coffey.
Here.
Resolution 141, approving the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of June 15th and June 22nd, 2015 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Yes, in the first one, is that correct? I see the roll call there, but I see two motions. And if I recall, the second motion, there was no vote on it, so we don't. It happened, but,
We didn't actually take a roll call vote that I can recall either, because it was a work session. So I'm not sure. What would you propose, if anything, should
well,
be changed in that?
we just passed that, but the second motion here, that's just, we shouldn't have that in there, I don't think. I think that would be taken out, right, Becky?
Which one?
Well-
Under 15-130,
Would we better reflect the discussion to say, instead of motion, recommendation to allow audience participation?
yep.
Everyone concur with that? Marty? Change motion to recommendation to allow? Okay, anything else with minutes?
No, I didn't find it.
If not, we'll have a roll call as amended.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Mark Manning.
Yes.
Mike LaFave.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. At this time, I'd like to open a public hearing, which we have scheduled for this evening. Public hearing at the town hall concerning the request for a zoning amendment. This is an action 239M that was referred to the county planning board. The county planning board returned it back to the town for local issue. Anyone have any written comments for the board this evening? Anyone like to make comment concerning the recommendation for a zoning amendment? I will leave, and actually I'm going to pedal backwards a little bit to get a motion to open the public hearing. Ms. LaFave, do I have a second on the
Second.
motion to open?
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion on that? Get a roll call to open the hearing.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Mark Manning.
Yes.
Mike LaFave.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, and I will mark it as it is current 7:05, which was the time of the hearing, and I'll ask one more time if anyone has any comments, written statements, etc.
Just that the change would not affect Abenaki area over there, in terms of it's on the other side of the railroad tracks, and there'll still be a barrier of woods because the one section was going to be left the same and not changed to industrial. So I think it will be. I mean, it probably would have been okay anyway, but this is for sure going to be all right for the residents in that area.
I will leave the hearing open for a little bit longer in case someone else happens to show. Resolution 142, abstract 7A.
Resolved that the abstract routed to claims number 7A-15, 1045 to 1172 for $232,942.74. And abstract 7A-15, 217 to 248 prepays in the amount of $642,326.67 be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisor hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Mike LaFave,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 143, local waterfront revitalization program memorandum of understanding.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Town Board is desirous to stimulate local development, foster future economic growth and development recreational opportunities within the municipality. Whereas the Essex and Clinton County waterfront plan, Clinton County designated master plan, and local revitalization plans have yielded clearly articulated goals for priority projects ready for implementation in Clinton County. Whereas in December 2012, a 2012 EPF local waterfront program grant was awarded to the village of Rouse's Point on behalf of Clinton County waterfront communities to advance these goals and priorities of the project. Whereas advance of Clinton County waterfront revitalization effort, and the project will allocate $15,000 to the town of Plattsburgh to address the Pier Lane recognition project
Reconnaissance.
and attached memorandum of understanding. It is necessary to affirm the attention of the town of Plattsburgh to participate in implementation of this effort and to detail the policies and procedures that will be forwarded in the implementation and administration of these projects. Now therefore be resolved that after review and approval by the town attorney, the supervisors authorized and directed to execute all documents necessary for the implementation of this work, and to authorize the terms of this agreement that shall commence once it is executed by both parties. It is further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the village of Rouse's Point mayor, town of Plattsburgh planning department, and finance manager.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Ms. LaFave, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
Is that correct, the reconnaissance project?
Yes.
That's the name of it?
I don't know if that's the formal name. It appears that that is. We haven't really written the formal project yet.
I don't think it'd be Renaissance.
No, it wouldn't be Renaissance, reconnaissance.
Reconnaissance.
Well, in the French spelling.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Mike LaFave,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 144, utility improvement feasibility study for the former county airport.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh supervisor and the water and wastewater director, along with the LaBerge Group, have examined current infrastructure, including water, wastewater issues, and they would like to proceed with a review the current and future needs of the former airport property to provide opportunities for growth and economic expansion throughout the town of Plattsburgh. Whereas through the 2015 Consolidated Funding Application and the Local Government Efficiency Program, Empire State Development, the town wishes to undertake a comprehensive review of the options pertaining to the delivery of service in the former Clinton County Airport property. Now therefore be resolved, after review and approval by the town attorney, the supervisor is hereby authorized to enter into an agreement with LaBerge Group to proceed with said proposal on behalf of the town of Plattsburgh. And he is further authorized to sign a contract for professional service as a first step in identifying infrastructure concerns on the property in the town of Plattsburgh, formerly known as the Clinton County Airport. And it be further resolved that the application for EDS funding through the CFA process in the amount of $4,500 to be taken out of this account. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the Water and Wastewater Director, Finance Manager, and the Burge Group.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix. Before we start, I'd like to change the title as our clerk read that. It dawned on me, the title of the resolution should read Utility Improvement Feasibility Study for the former county airport property, which is the way it's referenced in the resolution. I'd ask that we add the word property. It's not the airport, it's the airport property. Tom, do you agree with that
That's fine.
change, Marty?
Yep.
Okay, so as amended then, any other discussions?
Bernie, I talked to Scott about this because I was concerned that there had already been maybe some studies done of this nature, but then I talked to Mike and Rodney at the county and they've done an environmental study, but nothing like this. They were pretty encouraging. That was a good idea.
Nobody's really gone in and done that preliminary work, which not only impacts that property, but it could have a huge impact on the infrastructure down Ruger Street, which we've had some issues with. So it's an effort, we think the way that the ESD funding through the CFA process is going to work this year, that the potential economic impacts will enable us to write a competitive grant so we can get the money for this. This is one of those situations where the lack of infrastructure or the cost to provide it, upgrade it, could be prohibitive to economic growth development of that property. So I think it certainly is proactive, but I think it's information we should try to get around. And this is an opportunity. We'll see what happens if we get the funding. Any other discussion? I'm glad you followed up too. I mean, as a committee person, you're really good about going in and having further discussions with them. I appreciate that. If not, as amended, roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Meg Lefebvre,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. I'm going to go back to the public hearing. There's no need to let this drag any further. I'll ask one more time if there's anyone here who has any statements, comments they'd like to make relative to that request. And if not, I'm going to seek a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Ms. Lefebvre, do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Meg Lefebvre,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the public hearing will be closed at 7:14. Resolution 145, contract number N, Sorrel Avenue, pump station, change order number 2.
Whereas Resolution 14-92, the town of Plattsburgh previously awarded to Stephen Fuller Incorporated the bid to provide work on Route 3 and Sorrel Avenue pump stations, be further amended by change order number 2. Whereas the plans and specifications called for adjustment to original contract change order number 2 as per attached change order agreement. Whereas LaBerge Engineering Consulting Group and Scott Stoddard, Director of the Water and Wastewater Department, have reviewed the proposed changes and the recommendation is approval. Therefore be resolved that the recommendations of said engineer is hereby accepted and approved and adopted. And it be further resolved that the town board authorize the supervisor to execute the change order number 2 in the amount of $3,896.75. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution and executed change order number 2 be given to the finance manager, LaBerge Engineering Consulting Group, and the director of the Water and Wastewater Department.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Ms. Lefebvre, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Meg Lefebvre,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 146, authorization to enter into a purchase power contract agreement with Solar City.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has investigated a proposal to bring clean, renewable energy to the grid It will also enable the town to receive credits for its utility billing generated measurably savings for the taxpayers. And whereas Solar City, a reputable company from San Metro, California, has proposed a 1,249 kilowatt DC solar power purchase agreement that proposes to deliver savings to the town of Plattsburgh on its utility costs, and with said project constructed on the property at the northernmost portion of the Katyville Recreation Park. And whereas the proposal has been prepared by Solar City, that has been studied and reviewed by the members of the town board and town attorney, and it is believed that the power purchase agreement is appropriate as the form and contains the provisions and contingencies that reflect the town's best interest. Now therefore be resolved that after review and approval by the town attorney and the town board, the supervisor on behalf of the town of Plattsburgh is hereby authorized to sign the attached contract agreement and related documents with Solar City to develop a 1,249 kilowatt solar energy project that will enable the company to apply to NYSERDA for applicable incentives. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution and executed agreement be given to the finance manager, town assessor, and Solar City.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
Just in the title, it's actually power purchase agreement.
I didn't even pick up on that. Thank you. Tom, okay with flipping those around in the title?
Yes.
Power purchase, Marty?
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion as amended?
I think, we changed from a 20 to 15-year contract in this. And we have a number of, they've included the, other, into the contract, included the facts that if certain things don't, break our way in terms of taxes and other things, that we can, opt out. I believe that, and then also includes, clearing of the property, if that's too expensive, if they're not doing it, and if there's another charge, we can say that we don't want it, and I believe there's another opt-out besides. So, this will at least get us in the hopper, and we can see from that. And it's my understanding from talking with the representative that there's a few things in the contract that, they'll be amended, as we go along, depending on the findings as they proceed with the project.
Down to the point of, as we learned today, Tom came in with some very focused notes and questions. We got a company representative, Jennifer, on the phone. She responded to each one very specifically. And even down to, as this thing really still has to be engineered based on a number of factors, the idea that it's a 1,249 kilowatt project, that could change a little bit. And between now and next year, when we actually install this, the technology might change a little bit. So it does continue to get us to move forward with the right direction, with the right focus, to try and get some credits, get some savings. And I don't know if you all were aware, got all of your notes, but we do have a confirmation that the interconnection will be approved, and our request for remote net metering credits appears to have crossed that hurdle as well. So even with a submittal, there's no 100% that the project will be allowed by the utility, NYSEG, to be put into their system, into the grid through them. So this continues, so let's go forward, and I think we're getting more comfortable that we still have a parachute to get out if something surfaces that's irreconcilable.
I think one of the key elements in my decision to support this is the fact that what I see happening as we go forward is I see the availability of these projects slipping away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, a year from now, people who are going to be looking at these projects are going to be looking at projects that are going to be marginally profitable, marginally, potentially successful. The fact that we've gotten an initial indication that we are in the queue for this phase one power, if that were to happen, that gives us a far greater shot at having a good shot at a profitable program that will be beneficial. And so that's, and then we do have, as Tom was mentioning, we've got the ability to step back if things are not falling the way that we've built expectations that they should fall. We can step back, but I think if we don't step forward at this time, we won't be stepping forward.
The only thing I would add too, there isn't any project we never undertake that has zero risk.
Yeah.
The word is otherwise you stop it. So.
They probably wouldn't be available because we've already gotten them.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? A roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Fay,
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 147, the appointment of Stephen Waldron as a laborer in the water wastewater department.
Whereas there is a vacancy for the position of laborer in the water and wastewater department that was duly posted and advertised. And whereas the interviews for the aforementioned position were held by the director, supervisor, and town board committee members of the wastewater department. And whereas upon completion of the interviews, it is the recommendation of the director and the committee that Stephen Waldron be appointed to the vacancy in the water and wastewater laborer position. Now therefore be resolved that the town board is hereby authorized the hiring and appointment of Stephen Waldron to the vacancy position of laborer at a rate paid as established by the negotiation union agreement effective first full pay period following approval. And it be further resolved that this appointment become effective following civil service final approval, and that the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign all necessary documents for Mr. Waldron's appointment with a provisional period of 12 months. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, the director of water and wastewater department, and one to be forwarded to the Clinton County Department of Personnel.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Ms. LaFave, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
Person, does he have any experience in that area, or do we know?
Yeah, well, he's got construction experience. This is a labor position, so he would have to have water wastewater experience.
One of the problems we've found, and even with the entry-level labor position, there are very, very, very few municipal water departments, so there are very few available experienced people. We really tend to try to get a highly qualified, highly competent person that can get his experience here and get training and begin to work their way through. We've had the discussion many times, a number of presentations over in the past, and the qualifications to be an operator, as you know, you're in the committee to the department, are quite stringent, and the availability of people coming to us pre-qualified just isn't there.
Well, as I remember, the goal was to hire a maintenance worker one and a maintenance two, or at least at that level. So apparently
You've got one next.
we wouldn't be able to do that, so.
We'll get one, and a fine young man who may not make those qualifications today, but you may see his name again in a couple of years as he moves along. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Fay,
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 148, appointment of Victor Samolis IV as a maintenance worker 1 in the water wastewater department.
Whereas there is a vacancy for the position of maintenance worker 1 in the water and wastewater department that was duly posted and advertised. And whereas interviews for the aforementioned position were held by the director, supervisor, town board committee members and the water and wastewater department. Whereas upon completion of the interviews, it is the recommendation of the director and the committee that Victor Simolis IV be appointed to the vacancy of water and wastewater maintenance worker 1 position. Now therefore be resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the hiring and appointment of Victor Simolis IV to the vacant position of maintenance worker 1 at a rate paid as indicated by the current negotiation union agreement effective first full pay period following approval. And it be further resolved that this appointment become effective following civil service final approval, and that the supervisor hereby authorized to sign all necessary documents for Mr. Simolis' appointment for the provisional period of 12 months. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, director of water and wastewater department, and one to be forwarded to Clinton County Department of Personnel.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Meg LaFave,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 149, accepting the resignation of Gerald Bates.
Whereas Gerald Bates, the town historian, has submitted a letter of resignation announcing his intent to retire July 31st, 2015. And whereas his knowledge and background brought much expertise to the office and to the journals of the town of Plattsburgh history, and the town board, with appreciation for the many years of service to the town of Plattsburgh, that accept his resignation. Therefore, be it resolved, the supervisor send a letter of appreciation on behalf of the town board, thanking Mr. Bates for his dedication and years of service to the town. In his capacity, place on file a letter of resignation and retirement. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and a copy be placed in Mr. Bates' file.
Have a motion.
I'll make a motion for the purpose of discussion.
Mr. Mannix, second.
One second.
Ms. LaFave, discussion.
Is there anything that would happen if we were to table this that would have an adverse effect on Mr. Bates?
He had wanted to resign last month, and I denied it because he didn't write his letter. And we talked a bit, and he extended, but I know he does want to move on by the end of the month, so.
Why do you want to table it?
Because I think we need to do something to recognize his service.
And we might accept his letter and still,
You'd probably be more
Do
grateful
something
if we
special.
No,
just accepted
his
it.
intent is to
Yes, I
retire on
think
the
so.
31st, as long as we do something by the 31st.
absolutely. And I don't think he's moving anywhere, so he'll be around, but I agree, while he's able to wear the shirt, it would be nice, we can have that conversation. Totally agree. I think we all respect everything Jerry's done. His
He's
energy is just
done a
amazing.
magnificent job. I mean, he really came in and took the position and really, they talk about raising the bar. I mean, he really took the job to a new level. And
I can personally say in my office, I'm gonna truly miss him. Because of all of the background genealogy stuff that he's done is phenomenal. That the work that comes in and he just grabbed and went with, it just above and beyond the Call of Duty. It's phenomenal, the stuff that he's done.
I think we all agree on that. Maybe you could ponder some suggestions and share them with us in the next couple of days, Marty, so we could decide what to do. I don't know if you have a thought. would we all entertain that? Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Reluctantly, yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Meg LaFave,
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes. Motion is carried. Will be missed. Resolution 150, temporary seasonal hire for a lifeguard in the recreation department.
Whereas the supervisor has received a letter dated July 2nd, 2015 from Melody Pyatt, Youth Service and Recreation Director, requesting to hire an additional summer lifeguard. Whereas all employment verification and eligibility has been satisfied, and the Youth Service and Recreation Director recommends that Ms.
Lemza.
Be added to the attached list of applicants to appointed to said position. And now therefore be resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign all necessary documents to hire Ms. Lemza as a seasonal temporary help in the Park and Recreation Department. And a certified copy of this resolution be given to the Finance Manager, Youth Director, Cool and Shoring, and Clinton County Civil Service Department of Personnel for their final approval and filing.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Ms. LaFave. Any discussion?
I think that it should say her first name in the resolution somewhere.
Chloe?
Yep. And
We would do that in the second whereas the first time her name is mentioned.
yep. And Bernie, how come she's at a higher pay rate than all the
She's
others?
coming back, she's experienced, she's doing some training, I believe, as well. She was in Mel's original list of hopefuls, but I believe she didn't get her paperwork in time.
She had to take the test over. She did take the test
She's
over.
WSI
She
certified.
really was thinking she would retire. I talked to the director
Okay,
today, and she said that she's going to be basically a sub, but many of the people that are down here, college students that are already working at in the city, for the city, or another place, and that it's very difficult for them to sub at different times, and she could come in on those particular times when they had to be at the city beach or somewhere else. And she said this is less than she usually has, but there's just not very many lifeguards. There's one high school student, and all the rest are college students. She's hoping for more high school students to get their certification, so she'll have them for a while.
What's her first name?
Chloe.
Chloe?
CHLOE. Any other discussion? As amended, roll call please.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Meg LaFave,
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, resolution carries. We're at the end of the agenda, but I would ask for a motion to go into executive session to discuss, I know there's some notes on here that need to be changed, to discuss proposed or pending litigation with the Department of State. Have a motion. Mr. Mannix, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Wood, roll call on the motion to go into executive session.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Meg LaFave,
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes. Pardon? With the Department of State. We will go into executive session, 7:35. I truly don't know if there will be further action or not. Just communicate.
Maybe in the recruitment programs to get.
everybody, try to get everybody, so.
It's possible.
At least you get news in the paper now instead of all condos.
It's just a guideline.
For what, for that rezoning? For the rezoning? Continue running the meeting?
And the public hearing. But you can't leave it open for a week.
Okay, I'm through, what do they look for? They want to go forward or not?
Yes, they'd be looking.
No, that one's about the.
Rest up here.
That I was thinking of, that would, the two things talking about, this would exempt us from tax by saying that for solar city.
Right.
Now, the road would just be a lease.
So they can rely on the county's whatever. Coming down towards. And I tried to find in the law, just, are they allowed to enter into that long-term agreement without doing an RFP? Yeah, but for what purpose? Because the end result is this is a resolution to purchase power for 15, so it goes beyond the 12-month period. And do you not have to get an RFP just based on, can other places, of course, they're gonna make it significant to say clean energy, whatever that means, but like I said, you can get involved with other suppliers that are buying their resources from clean energy, and therefore you can say you're supporting clean energy, that you would actually have to go out for an RFP for all electric companies to supply a quote as to what per rate you would. I don't know.
No.
I mean, I just thought because it's a long-term agreement, you can't just, the town,